What is it I'm doing? I'm poking a gnome, a West Virginia stuffed gnome with a pen. But there is somebody out there who's doing the same thing, except they're poking a West Virginia voodoo doll with a needle. Because bad luck continues to run through this West Virginia basketball program as one of their starters have fallen ill. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about a football player who has now joined the West Virginia basketball team, and we're going to talk about both of those topics right after this word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, fellow Mountaineer fans and fellow Hoops fans? Welcome into another edition of Hoops from the Hills. I am Couz. My partner, Mountaineer Paul, could not be with me today. He is dealing with a power outage at his house because of the weather. We've had snow come into this part of the country, just like many of you out there are dealing with as well. So I decided to do this one by my lonesome. Hope that's okay. Let Paul know in the comments that you missed him today. Before we dig into the first topic of the day, guys, I want to ask, we oftentimes forget to do this in the beginning of our videos, but please like the video if you approve of our content here. Please share it with your friends. Please subscribe to the channel. And please drop a comment below and let us know what you think about these two topics. The first one being the illness of Pat Suemnick and him being questionable for the game against Oklahoma. We all know the bad luck the West Virginia men's basketball team has had to deal with. It all started last summer with the Bob Huggins DUI and subsequent resignation. Now, you could arguably say it even started with his homophobic slur that he did on the radio. That's kind of when everything started, in my opinion. But you know the story. I don't need to go into it at this point. All the players that were lost to the portal, the hiring of an interim coach, the suspensions to some guys that weren't expected, the guys that didn't get NCAA waivers, injuries, all kinds of stuff that's happened. Well, in the last few games, Pat Suemnick, who was basically a role player on this team, who played sparingly, was forced into more minutes because of a broken wrist suffered by starting center Jesse Edwards. Well, Pat Suemnick, the last 2 or 3 games, has really come on and played well for this Mountaineer team. The last game against Texas, he led them to a victory with 14 points, 6 rebounds, played really good defense underneath, I thought. He's really playing good basketball right now. And he's having to fill in at the 5 spot, which is really not his natural position. But he's doing that for the injured Jesse Edwards. Well, guess what? Josh Eilert announced in his press conference before the Oklahoma game that Pat Suemnick has come down with an illness. Now, according to him, Pat apparently is going to be traveling. He didn't say this verbatim, but he kind of alluded to it. Pat will be traveling with them to Oklahoma, and they're going to monitor him to see how he feels, as they get closer to the game. But it's not looking good. He's listed as questionable for the game. And that means a Cook, who, again, is also not really a true 5. He's more of a 4. Is going to be forced to play the 5 and to play a lot of minutes. And let's remember, a Cook missed a few games as well after collapsing on the court with what is rumored to be some kind, well, I don't want to say rumored to be, but what is some kind of medical condition. Now, so how many minutes can he go? I'm not sure. Who's going to play the 5 when he can't go? Are they going to have to put Quinn Slazinski at the 5? He's a stretch 4. It's like a snowball that continues to roll downhill for this Mountaineer program. But anyway, hopefully Pat Suemnick will be able to play in this game. And even if he does, I doubt he'll be 100%. So he may not be able to go the number of minutes that they'd like to see him go. So hopefully they'll figure out some kind of strategy to work around that, as I'm sure they're working on as we speak. But anyway, I just want to bring that news to you guys who may not have heard it yet. Now, the second topic I want to talk about is something that was brought up during the last game against Texas, and that is a West Virginia football player, Aden Tagaloa-Nelson, who plays safety for Coach Brown over on the football team, joining Josh Eilert in the basketball program. And there's an interesting story behind how this came about, and Aden Nelson shared this with Mountaineer Paul the other day through text messaging, and I want to share. I did an article about this over on my website, couzescorner.com. I'm going to share that with you on the screen, and then we'll talk about it real quick. It says, WVU safety Aden Tagaloa-Nelson on why he joined WVU basketball. A few hours prior to the WVU basketball team taking the floor against the Texas Longhorns on Saturday, it was announced by head coach Josh Eilert and the WVU athletic department that Aden Tagaloa-Nelson, a safety for Neil Brown on the WVU football team, had joined the Mountaineer basketball team. It left many fans wondering, why Nelson? What does he bring to the table? And the reason I put that in there is because the talk on social media was Rodney Gallagher's the guy that most fans thought would make this move because he was a highly recruited basketball player out of high school. But in a text conversation that Paul had with Nelson, here's how he responded. When Paul asked him about how it all kind of came about, he said, and I quote, Coach Eilert seen me a few times while recruiting my younger cousin, Jasper Johnson, in the class of 2025. And over the summer, he invited me to an open run, and he liked the way I played. And I just realized I have a typo there. And I think that is where the process of me joining the basketball team late started, end quote. When asked what he can bring to the team and why Coach Eilert wanted him, Nelson responded, I just bring a lot of energy and defense. Defense is my specialty and what I am known for when playing basketball, end quote. Paul also asked Nelson about his expectations related to playing time. Nelson replied, I wouldn't say I expect to play a certain amount of minutes, but I'm here to help the team win in any possible way that I can, whether that's on the bench bringing energy or being on the court playing great defense with a bunch of energy for the guys to bounce off of, end quote. This is a surprise pickup for Coach Eilert and the WVU staff, but it appears that Tagaloa-Nelson could fill a need on the team by helping to improve the energy and effectiveness on the defensive end of the court. Now, Josh Eilert kind of alluded to this in his post-game presser after the Texas game and kind of seconded what Tagaloa-Nelson said, but he expanded on it by saying, even if Tagaloa-Nelson doesn't play a lot of minutes in games, which, is unknown at this point, even if that doesn't happen, the guys on the team having to play against him and his defensive presence every day at practice is going to do nothing but help this team. He can bring that energy, that enthusiasm, that defensive effort each and every day at practice. That's going to do nothing but help guys like Kerr Kriisa, guys like Raekwon Battle, guys like Noah Farrakhan, Kobe Johnson, Seth Wilson, all these guys who are guards who have to play against Tagaloa-Nelson, who's 6'1", so he's presumably a guard. All the guys who have to play against him every day, it's going to help them. Also, it could be contagious, guys. I'm telling you, as a former high school athlete, if you have someone on your team who's playing with a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of hustle, it will help the rest of the team because it's kind of a lead by example type situation, right? Also, he's according to Coach Eilert, he's just a great young man. He's great to have in the locker room. So adding someone like that to your roster is never a bad thing. And who knows? He could end up being a really good player and end up playing some minutes for this team. And as the bad luck continues, like we talked about earlier, who knows who might go down next with an injury or an illness or whatever, and they may have to rely on him to step in and play some minutes. Well, guys, I want to know what you think about these two situations. What do you think about the continued bad luck and about Pat Suemnick getting ill and potentially having to miss the Oklahoma game? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop it below for me if you don't mind. Also, guys, don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Help us get to that next big number of 2,000 subs. Let the people out there know about Hoops from the Hills. Many of you may already know about Couz's Corner and Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. That's our football channels. If you don't, go check them out and subscribe there as well. And last but not least, guys, if you feel like I earned it, please hit the thumbs up button on this video. Please like it. If you thought this video was horrendous and it sucked, you can hit the thumbs down button. That works just the same. And if you do that, though, let me know what I can do better in the comment section. Until then, guys, I really appreciate you tuning into this episode of Hoops from the Hills, and I'm done.